Hey everyone, Walter Crosby with Helix Sales Development, your host of Sales and Cigars. Today's episode, my guest is Ben Dixon, and Ben's with Naxum, which is an interesting company. I don't normally have a lot of guests on that's from this affiliate marketing software space, but he's got an interesting story about creating a situation for your business that helps you make better decisions because you've got data in real time. He's an interesting guy. He's got some great insights that we talk about in the front about, the books that we read and how we apply that to our entrepreneurship journey. I mean, he graduated college in 19 and failed miserably in sales and then nailed it the next year. So go grab a cigar, grab a cocktail, strap in for another fun, impactful episode of Sales and Cigars. So Ben, welcome to the program. I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule.
You got it, Walter. Thanks for inviting me to come on out. Looks like you got a nice one today.
Yeah, I'm smoking my go-to Padron 4000. So can't go wrong. So the thing I like to start off with, because it helps me understand what people read, what they consume. It helps me understand them a little bit. So is there a book that you recommend or gift to people on a regular basis?
The books I hand out the most would be Gino Wickman's Traction. I love that book. I've used the principles and traction in all of my businesses. And the second one I hand out the most beyond the like fanatical prospecting and Grant Cardone's Sell or Be Sold books would be Simon Sinek's Start with Why. I find that if I help a business owner with traction and understanding responsibilities and expectations and this idea of an accountability chart, and do people get it, wanting to have the capacity to do their roles in your organization, that books like Start with Why help with vision and setting goals of what's possible, and books like Fanatical Prospecting and Sell or Be Sold or 10X Rule are a lot of the tactics of getting over your own excuses and understanding that sales is a game that has a pipeline and you got to have real relationships and do the work and plant the seeds and not just expect to harvest the next day. And so those would be the four I hand out the most on our side.
Interesting. That's an interesting four. I have a lot of clients who run EOS. And I think it's a great operating system for a business that is on a growth scale. It's more practical for smaller businesses, I think, than like scaling up, right? Because the principles are simpler.
Yeah. Scaling up is the post 40 million a year book in my mind. If my friend's business is under 40 million, Traction. Over 40 million a year, Gazelle Scaling Up. That's awesome.
Yeah. And they're speaking to the same issues, but just at different scale, and the language is different. And Simon's book, Start with Why, it applies to everything, right? To your kids, to your employees, to your salespeople, to whatever. Like if you help them understand that piece, it's that TED Talk is one of is a really powerful one. And Jeb Blount stuff, so it's repetitive, but it's good, right? The one that I'm just not a fan of Grant Cardone. I'm just not a fan. Like the stuff he talks about, I love it. You got to own it. You got to go do it. You got to do the work, that kind of thing. I'm just not a fan of. I put him in the same bucket as was it Beaufort, the guy that had the movie made about him with the
Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah. And it's fair enough, Walter. I always tell my staff and even people I give books to I always say, eat the meat and spit out the bones, because so many times you can't get the whole pack. Like not every book is the Bible, right? Where you're just going to love all of it, right? Not every book's the Bible. It's just the truth, right? So, hey, not every book's the Bible, but hey, this book.
Even the Bible you can argue with, right?
Well, I just say that like with Cardone stuff is the point. Like there's 60% of there that's just good, kick you in the butt stuff that people need to hear. And personality wise on social media, you can argue about if you'd want to have dinner with the guy. But at the end of the day,
Good point.
that's like there's a difference in business and life. Like I always tell people, don't take money from someone you want to let watch your kids. Right. So it's like, who do you want to be in business with? Right. Well, that's something very different than who can you learn from? Well, you can learn from good guys and bad guys. You can learn from victors and people who are victims in our world.
That's a fair point. I love it. I bring it up just because of that's my bias, and I've read his stuff, right? There's like you said, 60-70% of this stuff is good, and I don't have to watch his commercials, right? I can turn that off.
Yeah. You don't have to subscribe to his newsletter.
Yeah. But you brought something up that's an interesting like little one-liner that you don't take money from people you wouldn't let watch your kids.
Amen.
Expand on that a little bit.
That goes for clients, that goes for investors, that goes for business partners. It's this idea that life is short, right? We live in a finite life, right? None of us are going to live forever. And so you choose to wake up every day and do work that makes a difference in the world that you're passionate about, that's solving real problems for real people, right? That's how that's the biggest reward of life. Yeah, money is how we keep score, but creating value, real value in other people's lives, like that's emotionally what's most rewarding in an organization. It's not just slapping money around, it's the difference your product or service made in the end customer's life. And so when you think about who you collaborate with on a daily basis, you have choices, whether it's business partners, owners, investors, clients, you choose who you say yes or no to. And in sales, right, you choose who to have as clients. So there's certain clients you can say yes to that will give you money that are going to wreck your life. And then there's other clients you're going to say yes to who are going to pay you and you're going to have a great relationship with, and you're going to do good things in the world together. And you just got to know that you don't need any one person. You don't need everybody to buy your product or service. You can have respect for yourself and your offer and others and go out there and sort for the people that you desire to do business with. And that's what makes this game fun at the end of the day.
And that's one of the cool things about sales, right? Because we get to make choices and we get to, outcomes are important. I have a friend who, we do a series on the podcast called Think Differently About Sales. And Nate refers to what you just described as ruthlessly disqualifying prospects, right? And
I love that. Good.
It sounds a little harsh, but in reality, it's getting to what you just described. If I talk to 5 CEOs and I'm looking for the reason that they're not going to really do what they need to do to transform the organization, the sales team. They're not going to do it, right? They don't have the desire or the commitment. I'm looking for that. So I'm fine with talking to 5 people that like, I want to do this. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's your problem. And here's why. And we talk through it. If they're not committed to doing what's necessary, you're not going to have success. Right. So that's a problem. Yeah. But you're not going to have fun doing it.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds weird, but if we're entrepreneurs and we're out there and we're invested in their world and we're going to fight for them and we're going to coach their people and we're going to do all those things, if it isn't like fun and exciting and I want to do this, I don't want to start.
Yeah. Well, Walter, you tie it to ideal outcomes. I love the picture you just painted. Is like the ideal income for so many people in sales today is not just closing the deal. That's only a small part of that relationship's value. We not only want to close the deal, we then want to deliver on that deal beyond expectations to the place where that customer we just served is not only willing to give us a great review on Google, but is willing to take phone calls from other potential clients and say, oh my gosh, working with Ben Dixon was just phenomenal. Like, of course you should hire them. Like that's the actual ideal outcome, is so much more than just selling product A or B or C in the beginning. And so to deliver that, it takes a much deeper approach and the right person, to your point, that's going to do the work. Many times, if you're selling a custom solution or you're implementing a consulting plan or you're selling software, like in my world, you have to have people who are going to do all the work where you're likely only part of their success. And so you have to make sure they're doing the other components as well, or they're going to blame it on you. It's going to be your fault.
Yeah. And that's where it goes.
Yeah,
It's funny. I've told this story before. I'll get to the end point where you've gone through discovery and you've qualified and disqualified and got there, and
sure.
they're looking at you. They're all excited, right?
Mm.
And it's like, I think we got to this point, and there's this, we could do this, and we could do this. And then I look at them and say, let me tell you why this won't work.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the whole body language changes, and they lean in usually or sit back in their chair. Like, what? Like, yeah,
Mm.
let's talk about why this won't work. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, why won't it work? I'm like, you. And here's what I mean. About 45 days in, somebody's going to come to you from your team and going to say, this guy is crazy. He wants
Mm-hmm.
us to do stuff we've never had to do before. He's pushing us to try to do different things. And what you say as an owner of the business at that moment is going to make or break what we do together. So let's
Yeah,
rehearse that. Let's practice what that sounds like, right?
yeah,
And it's amazing. I know within 30 seconds if that person's gonna fight for themselves or if they're going to roll over and it's not worth the effort. And I know that sounds terrible, and I'm, not
but
exactly.
it's
I'm not
true.
for everybody,
No, but
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 I
that's
think
but that statement is true. Adoption and implementation is the key part, and that's where the risk is in any project, right? Anyone can sell a project, but can they implement? That's why you see in like big Fortune 500 companies, you see these career moves where people will be a part of the planning phase of a project, and then they switch teams the moment it comes to execution. Well, why do they do that? Because there's always someone pointing a finger that the execution team did something wrong, and so it's dangerous to be on an execution team because you can look bad because something will go
mm,
wrong expectations. And so you see that in big companies all the time where people are like, no, I'm just on the strategy planning side. I'm not on that implementation side because they want to always save face and never look bad. Because how do you ever look bad if you're just the planning strategy side? Well,
right.
you can always blame it on how the implementation team did. And so there, we have to preset that expectations of saying, hey, there will be stuff that comes up in implementation. There will be stuff that comes up in execution. And to your point, are you going to give this baby enough oxygen to stretch and learn and grow? And are you going to give it space to germinate and the seed to grow, whichever analogy you want to share?
Yeah,
But it is telling that story ahead of time so that when the moment comes up, that we're able to address it and just move forward, to something
setting
positive.
expectations, right?
Yep. Every time.
Yeah.
Every
The,
time.
you bring up another really great point. I'm I'm not a corporate guy. Like, you get to that, like, I don't really work with companies beyond like 50, 60 million,
Mm-hmm.
because we lose that individual, right? Working
Mm.
with the lady or the guy that's running the company, it becomes more of a committee thing, and we got to get more people involved and
Sure.
consensus. So like when I was in college, I had a roommate who was very politically motivated, and he wanted to be president, and I'm not politically correct, and I would
Sure.
just kind of be very, even back then I was just very straightforward. And he's like, you're going to be my Secretary of State. And I'm like, that's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea, right? Because I'm not very diplomatic. Um, and but that whole politics of corporate world, people in that space, I don't care if it's sales or wherever, they'll do more to save face than they will to save money in certain
Yeah.
situations. Is that
Mhm.
your experience?
Absolutely. Or the right decision for the company at the end of the day. And so aligning incentives and everything, aligning culture and all that is really about how you lead in an organization, and that comes down to the culture you've set, because it's very easy to get that screwed up, and there's a lot of waste there.
Yeah, and it's, to me, that's frustrating. And when we don't care about people, and we don't care about the resources, and we don't care about value, and we only care about the person in the mirror, it just gives me the like icky feel, and I don't want to be part of that.
Yeah.
So that's why we kind of stay in that other side of that coin. Um, so I kind of want to talk a little bit about your journey, if you will, to your entrepreneurial journey and how you
Sure.
got here. I mean, did it start at a Fortune 500 company? Did it start in the basement? Was you were, newspaper
Yeah.
boy? Like, talk to me a little bit about that. And I kind of want to have a conversation about what you've learned through those challenges that popped up.
Yeah. Well, I was very blessed. So I think one of the biggest assets in my life was my heritage. I had amazing parents. Grew up in Rockford, Illinois, had a family in a manufacturing background. My great grandfather started a manufacturing company in town, made the Vulcan cannon for the PT boats, the big 20 millimeter on the back. And so they build all kinds of assembly machinery. So they don't build
Mhm.
a certain widget. A company comes to them with a widget and says, "Hey, can you assemble this perfectly for us thousands of times a minute?" And they build the robots that do that. And so I
So
grew up
the engineering, that's an
in
interesting space, right?
amazing their lives. Yeah, that's the space. So my father's third generation, my cousin's fourth generation running that company today. But I grew up working there as a little kid, 12, 13 years old, doing odd jobs and projects. Ended up starting a landscaping company because I got the honor of paying my own way through college with a bunch of siblings. I had 6 siblings, and my parents had every other. So every other kid covered the education, and I got to be the other. And so I laid stone patios and mowed lawns and did mulch jobs and had 2 employees and trucks and trailers to pay my way
Wow.
through school. And when I was doing that, I watched my sister get into direct sales. None of us knew anything about sales or selling or anything like that. She was a 23-year-old English teacher in Aurora, Illinois at the time. And she joined a direct selling company that sold real estate education, sold seminars, how to make money flipping houses. And it was a $20,000 program. That was a 2-year program she sold, and it was 50% commissions. So it didn't take a lot of customers to make a significant amount of income. I watched her sell 11 of those programs when I was a 16-year-old kid and said, wow, if my sister can make, 6 figures in her nights and weekends selling seminars, what can I do? I'm sitting here laying stone patios and said, okay, I got to figure that out. So after watching for 2 years, I joined her on my 18th birthday. I was a senior in college at that time. I started university really young because I was homeschooled. And was a senior at NIU. And I signed up in their program, went through their training, and I failed miserably, Walter, in beginning. I thought I knew it all after watching for through 2 years. I thought I had it all. Oh, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to attack and win. Zero commissions, zero my first 10 months. Just no dollars. You're in 10 grand a sale, and I had zero in 10 months. Ended up getting humbled big time and just doing the real work you're supposed to do in direct sales and in that business. And
At
ended up
18.
selling at 18.
At
Yeah.
18. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So I was very young. I was very blessed to have amazing mentors. You could fill an entire church with the amount of people poured into my life. Like there's dozens and dozens of just men and women I can name that have spent time with me, that have given me information, have trained me, have just loved me enough to spend time with a kid who didn't deserve it. Like I could fill a room with just, I'm amazed. Like somehow God chose for me to get all these great mentors in my life. And I'm just very grateful. Like I'm not a self-made man. There's so many people who took time to pour into my life. But so at 19 years old, I sold 44 of those programs. So it changed my life forever. I had a multiple
Wow.
6-figure income at that time and ended up buying a lot of real estate and was set up for a different way to live life. I had a bachelor's degree at 19 and a great income from selling real estate seminars. Ended up building a piece of technology that helped referral marketing companies like the one I was representing share compliant social media content. I sold it to a direct selling company called USANA Health Sciences and Zango. That's MLM companies out of Salt Lake City, Utah. And I realized quickly that selling a partial solution in software wasn't the answer, right? It's very hard when you run these large sales organizations to have little one-off systems. You want integrated systems. And so I learned quickly that I needed to be a part of a larger system. And so I partnered with Rod Kirby, who had been running Naxum out of Houston, Texas, back in 2009. So we've been together 14 years, and that's been our sole focus. We've grown this little software company with 7 employees to 65 full-time team members. We built over 140 large enterprise platforms for referral marketing companies. So everyone from insurance IMOs that you would know to direct sales and MLM companies to influencer marketing companies to so niches like wellness, jewelry, solar, and Forex education, real estate education. I can Amazon store education. I could go down the line, nutritional products, protein powder, right? All these different products where people want to have a referral marketing arm, whether it's just affiliates or influencers, network marketing, any of the spectrum, party plan. We built a unified platform that served that entire spectrum. So we've gotten to see a lot. You'll learn a ton over those years. Fast forward to 20. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
The influencers,
Sure.
is that I mean, that wasn't happening 10 years ago. That's something you had to pivot and develop, right? To react to the
Yeah.
market.
Yeah, referral marketing's changed a ton over the years. I mean, if you rewind and you go back to who's the original affiliate program, it was Amazon. Jeff Bezos' team came up with Amazon Associates years ago, back when it was just books, of, hey, here's your link. And if you send them someone to Amazon, we'll give you a few pennies. And so you had a spectrum of referral marketing happening. If you go 60 years ago, you have companies like Herbalife and Amway with MLMs with actual distributors, and that was a referral marketing, or insurance companies with an insurance agent in an office and 3 tiers of compensation, referral marketing, or a real estate agent with a broker's office and referral marketing, right? These independent contractors who sell products and services and get paid commissions. And today the spectrum's expanded. There's so many different cultures of what types of referral marketing you can have in a business. Like on one end of a spectrum, there's just a customer rewards program. Refer a friend to get a $20 gift card off your next purchase. That's referral marketing. Affiliate marketing is referral marketing. Influencers is referral marketing. Pampered Chef as a party plan company with the boys from Omaha own, right? Hey, that's referral marketing. Right. Then you go all the way to the spectrum of direct selling and network marketing is still referral marketing. At the end of the day, it's independent contractors getting paid a commission to share a product or service with an end customer.
There's people out there that have 2 commas of income just working with affiliates and just out there pushing these deals, and the incomes come through because of their network, for lack of a better word, and their influence sphere.
It's tied directly to the value you provide. So any form of referral marketing, if you sign up as an independent contractor for that organization, they're agreeing to you that, hey, if you bring us volume, we'll give you commissions. And what's beautiful in referral marketing is you, as the salesperson, aren't responsible for the execution and delivery of the product. They are. The company, you're trusting that they're going to do that. You're just bringing them the customer at the end of the day. And so for many people, it can be a great lifestyle. It can be wonderful to just be onboarding customers and then them getting to experience that company's product or services. The key is a company that's going to do a great job delivering products and services. I think you can see that.
So how did somebody discern that? Right? Ruthlessly disqualify those folks.
Yeah.
That's the challenge, right?
It's the hardest part of the gig, Walter, right on. Like a good example of that could be the solar space this year. There's a lot of people who have started solar referral marketing companies. Some are clients of ours, some aren't in the space. And solar is a good example. Most solar companies that are solar sales organizations don't actually put the panels on the roofs themselves. They outsource it to someone else. And so how can you create a good customer experience when you're outsourcing it to all sorts of random third parties on the back end? And so that space has struggled in referral marketing because of that. It's hard to get happy customers when you're not controlling the user experience on the back end of a brand. And so
So what's the fix for that?
Well, the fix is looking for organizations that when a customer is referred, the customer has a great experience, because now you can create momentum as a salesperson. So you're looking for organizations you can refer as a salesperson that are going to do a great job delivering a product or service to the end customer. And that's what's going to work. And that's the process that we guide companies through. So a lot of my work of the last 14 years has been working with organizations that say, hey, we sell at Kohl's, we sell at Sephora, but we want to have another brand that's a referral marketing brand and they want it because they want the data. They want to have that relationship with the end customer. The challenge with retail, Walter, and Amazon is there's no relationship. There's none. Like you don't interact. You don't know who your customer is. You don't get to put them on your newsletter. You don't get to communicate with them. You don't get to tell them about your specials. Like good luck doing a Black Friday special on Amazon, right? You just drop in price is all you're doing for a Black Friday special. The lowest form of selling. It's nothing else. It's not, hey, buy 2 products today and we're going to donate money to plant a tree in your honor. Like you can't do that stuff with Amazon. Right. And so we're gonna sponsor an orphan for meals for a year in Africa if you buy 3 of our products today. Like you can't say that stuff on Amazon. And so there's a lot of organizations who say we want to have a division where we actually know our customer and can communicate with them. And we'll take our knowledge from that channel and apply it across our omni-channel strategy. That's been my life's work, has been helping them with that channel.
So you're really taking data across industries and helping other organizations understand what works and what doesn't work based on this analysis. Is that part of what you do?
Well, we provide the platforms. for them to run direct selling companies.
Sure.
So everything from their members area, their commission
But
tracking.
you help them collect that data, though.
They're collecting data they want to get elsewhere. Correct. So they're getting deeper insights on their entire sales pipeline than they would ever see. And that's the real advantage. We released a report last year from the DSEF. I serve as chair of the Direct Selling Executives Forum on LinkedIn, which is a group of about 400 direct selling executives who just share reports with each other and insights. And in that report, we talked about how most people in the space only make decisions on transactional data, things like sales, subscriptions, enrollments, cancellations, things connected to an order happening or not happening in their world. And the challenge is that's not your whole sales pipeline. There's all sorts of leading indicators that create sales in your life, like a presentation or a demo or someone trying a sample of a product. And then that's not where the relationship. There was, there was something before that. There was an ad. There was a predictive action, something that created them getting to your webinar. There was an ad, a phone call, a text, a share on social media. So there's basically three parts of data. There's the transactional data, the leading indicators, and then the stuff that created the children of the leading indicators. What got them to your leading indicator, right? And what I have found is that if people stay in the old model, the best they can hope for is just to hit the benchmarks of their industry. If you're building your whole business just looking at transactional data, all you can ever hope for is to be as good as your peers. You're never going to surpass them, right? Because it's a bunch of other smart people doing the same thing. But if you could measure your whole sales pipeline, what's actually happening amongst your independent sales force that's out there, you make better decisions because you're a smart management team. And the math is nuts, Walter. What our report stated that if you could optimize your full selling process, just benchmarks of our industry, by even 20%, like if you can just be 20% better than the benchmarks in the space, the math comes out that you'll have double the revenue per active salesperson. That's it. Like that's the one key insight.
It's really in sales in general. If you get 10% better at three of the leading performance indicators, you're off the charts. You're almost doubling your
the charts,
but you're off the charts.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just opened up my brain because, like, in a weak moment, we're recording this in early January. This will drop in a couple of months. But during a weak moment during the holidays, I saw an ad about solar stuff, and I've always been curious whether I should do that or not. We've got a lot of property that we could, and I clicked the thing, and too much eggnog, and I put my number in, and I have gotten. I checked this morning, and I got 3 more today. I have had 17 phone calls to me from me putting that information into the ad. And it comes from the same number. There's no real voicemail or anything. It's just, they just keep pounding. And it's interesting because after I did it, I went and looked, to your point, there was no connection to what that agency is doing to who's actually going to show up. Is it tied to my utility? Is it tied to some guy with a pickup truck and some, screwdrivers and hammers and stuff? Like, I couldn't figure out the validity of it.
Sure.
Shame on me for not checking that out beforehand. But and you're able to help people who want to go to market in a smarter way.
Yeah.
You want to help them do better than their competition for the right reasons, providing the value. So you have we talked a little bit in the green room before we started recording. Can you share a little bit about, and I'll put the link in the show notes. Can you share about that data part of your website where you share the data and who might be interested in that?
Yeah, we have our own podcast from the DSEF. You can access that at Axon.com. But the Insights report we published the 2023 report is still super relevant, and the 2024 report will be dropped by the time this episode airs. If you go to NaxumTour, NaxumTour.com in the show notes, you'll be able to get a copy of that report and see an overview of what's actually working for referral marketing companies in the space. And it's more work today. If you think about like your responsibility as a company, right? If you want to build one of these channels well, there's a real strategy there. There's a proven recipe of what to follow to start. And then once you're in the marketplace, it all changes so fast. Social media changes so fast. The way we communicate changes so fast. Viral trends change so fast that it's not about a one and done thing. Like launching a referral marketing channel for your business is the last thing from a one and done thing. There is a certain recipe to launching, but the real win is in creating daily feedback loops. It's in knowing faster than your competition what's actually changing, what's working, what's not, so that you can adjust quicker. It just as an example, just even a decade ago, most people in referral marketing may have 2 seasons a year, where they're putting out new content or new shareables for the sales force because they don't want to change stuff too fast, because then people don't know how to share the message and the hooks and they get all screwed up.
Right.
So they say, twice a year, they're going to launch the January sales convention and the August sales convention. Here's what we're going to tell everybody and sell products all the way through the spring and summer. And hey, here's what we're going to say through the fall and end of the year for Christmas specials. That's pretty standard across the referral marketing space. That's been that way for a long time. But what we found is that because of the way social media is changing and the way all this stuff changes so fast, like neither of us would have dreamed up of TikTok. Like, would you have thought Musical.ly would have turned into TikTok in the last few years? Like, no, none of us thought that was going to happen. Right. And it works on a completely different algorithm than Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Instagram. It's not the same algorithm, right? It's just showing, it's taking accounts with 0 followers completely viral because it's AI tracking the content and asking who I should show this to, not about follower counts. So there's completely weird changes happening in our world right now. And so it's a lot of feedback of literally launching with what you believe will work best and doing that and going all the way and doing that work. But then looking at the feedback daily and adjusting the right things, letting go of what doesn't serve you and doubling down on what does. And it's that repetition of doing that. Some of our clients have gotten
doing it with, but you're helping them see how to make that decision with good data that's based on like what's actually happening in the last 24 hours, the last 30 days, whatever, because that it does, the speed of change is, Covey's book it's a different context, but the speed of change is on warp speed, right?
Yeah. And if you can move your organization from 2 iterations a year in your messaging and content and shareables to even monthly, that you just look at the advantage over your peers. Your peers are doing 2 releases a year, 2 iterations to adjust to the market a year, and you're doing 12, right? Some of you are nuts and you're going to get to 24 iterations a year. You're going to literally do 2,000% more than your peers. Okay. And I have some clients who do that. They're on 2-week iteration schedules, right? We're going to look at the data and make new decisions every 2 weeks. And because they're using predictive systems that are automated and feeding the content to their salespeople, they can adjust faster. It's not like they need to redo an 8-hour training every 2 weeks. They're feeding their sales tools new content instantly. So it just updates in real time of what the salesperson's prompted to send people, right? But that's the type of work we do, is we build systems that allow you to iterate faster because the world does change that fast. You want to talk about the Super Bowl special, or you're going to, by this time this comes out, the Easter special or whatever that is, right? It's key stuff to be thinking about, gang.
I love it. So the best way, I mean, you have this figured out, and the idea that, what we do is we help CEOs get better decisions with good data, that if we give them good data, they're going to make good decisions, right?
Yeah.
So there's a symbiotic thing here. You're giving them good data so that they can make better decisions faster and move in the right direction. And
exactly.
You've said that a couple of different ways and explained it. So the best way for somebody that's listening to this to reach out is what?
And my LinkedIn's in the show notes. You can add me there and message me on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to our team at naxim.com. We'd be glad to set up a free discovery session with you to hear more about your business and your vision and see if collaborating makes sense.
And you can quickly tell them, I think your approach, you tell me if I'm wrong, but you're not going to be pitching them. You're going to be trying to figure out if you can help them.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we only pick the clients that we believe we're going to thrive with together. So the most important thing up front is hearing their vision, knowing if A, we add enough value there that it makes sense to collaborate, and then if B, if they're willing to do the work that it's going to take to actually execute well. And only if those are check, yes, is anyone going to move forward? We also spend a ton of time pre-contract with clients. Something that's very different about our firm is it's not just discovery and then, hey, sign this contract. We spend a ton of time outlining configurations and layouts and everything of what the end product will be to make sure all the stakeholders are on the same page. Because by the time we sign a contract and they execute, we don't want to have to go back to the board. We don't want to have to go back to the stakeholders for more approvals. We want to just
get going and start running.
Yeah, and we want you to look good. And so wherever you are in your organization, you're the CMO, you're the VP of Ops, you're the implementer for this visionary CEO because you're an EOS guy, right? We want you to look good when you hire our firm. And so we spend the time up front with you pre-contract, making sure we all got the plan right. I would rather spend an extra 8 hours on a contract pre any money moving and get it right before we execute than to execute something early and then, oh my gosh, you didn't tell us about that ahead, and now we got to go get new approvals. I see it be rushed. I see it as, hey, we screwed this up here. I want you to look good when we implement, which is important. And that just comes down to being willing to do the pre-contract work. And when you do it, you get a better result.
Absolutely. I love it. Last question. Any relationship past or present with cigars? Story?
So I like shooting clay birds. I don't know if you guys are gun guys. I live in Illinois, which is not the most gun-friendly state, but we love shooting clay birds. They'll never won't make shotguns illegal. They've made our ARs illegal this last year, but shotguns are allowed. So we love shooting clay birds. My last time I had a cigar was my bachelor's party 13 years ago. Shooting some clay birds with my brothers. And what wasn't for me, my brothers love it. My brother's a surgeon, loves cigars. He's always telling me about the next one. So if a plastic surgeon loves them, there you go. But my it wasn't for me, but it was a fun day. So
you still shoot clays?
Always. Yeah. Love shooting clays. I play music and shoot clays outside of business. So that's what we do.
It's a really hard. I have a good friend of mine who has ridiculous amount of shotguns and Italian ones, like some very fancy shotguns.
Sure.
And he goes out and it's hard. It's a lot harder than people realize.
Oh yeah.
First time I ever did it, I was on the back of a big sailboat. It was a large clipper ship, right? And the captain, for some reason, took a shine to me, and we were off the back of the boat, and he's like, we're going to shoot clays. I'm like, how's he going to shoot clays? He's like, well, the guy's going to shoot him off the back, and we shoot him. And he hit 6 in a row.
That's right? Awesome. Yeah.
And then handed me the shotgun, and I'm like, what do you want me to do with this? The boat's going up and down, right? Like, I shot 4 times and missed 5 times. It was hard. But it's a fun sport, and my buddy always tries to get me to come out and do it, but it's a lot.
When you're out in Chicago next time, be my guest, and we'll go to our acreage and do it. I'll tell you what, out of all the fancy Italian shotguns, I still stick to a 1890 old side-by-side farmer's shotgun. It's the most fun thing to do, is to shoot something that's almost 135 years old that you're just shooting. And that's my favorite thing. It cost me $70. It's probably the cheapest gun I've bought in my life. And it's the most fun to shoot. You get 2 triggers, 2 barrels, and you got one with a tight choke and for long range, and one with an open choke for short range. And so if the clay gets away from you, you pull the opposite barrel. And it's a ton of fun for friends and anyone else to take a piece of history and get to use it shooting clay. So it's a fun story. It's a fun experience. So
that's cool. Yeah. Love it. All right, man. Thank you for taking the time. Great stuff. If somebody's out there in that space, Ben's your guy to talk to, because you're going to get data that's going to help you stay ahead of the curve. And if you get 20% better, you're kicking ass.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Walter, thanks for having me on the show. It was a total treat. Have a blessed day.
Hey, thanks for being part of the Sales and Cigar community. I wanted to share that I wrote a book, The 7 Critical Mistakes CEOs Make with Their Sales Organization. The CEOs who've read it tell me I cut to the chase quickly, get to the point, explain exactly what they're experiencing, why they're experiencing it, and how to fix it. So if you want a free copy, go check out the link in the show notes.